Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. I'm so glad you're joining me. Well, today we are creating 2 cards with some Spellbinders Club kits. We have the Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club kit, and then we also have the Large Die of the Month Club kit. It creates this beautiful Christmas window. And so we're just going to jump in and get started with our first card, which will be with the Large Die of the Month Club kit. It's called Window Wonderland, and we are going to do some die cutting. For today's card, these are the elements that we're going to be using. There are Christmas lights in here, there's curtains or draperies, there's a sled, there's a little person that could be holding the sled or present. There's presents, so lots more in here, but these are just the items that we're going to use for our first card. I went ahead and did my die cutting, and for today's card we're using grays, whites, this is Spellbinders Chiffon, and then this is Spellbinders Rainforest cardstock. Okay, so I created my snowbank with this piece here. Okay, this is going to be a great home to put our sentiment on. And then this piece here is for the top of our window. I cut that out with white cardstock. And then this piece is a layering element for the window. So is this piece. Actually cut it out with white cardstock here. And then this piece goes underneath the window. I cut that out with white cardstock. And then we have, the nice thing about this window is you could do layer on top, or you could actually die cut out and create a window. We're going to layer on top today. So if you wanted to die cut out the window, you would just layer these pieces on this piece and die cut this out, and then you could have a trio of windows in this. Okay, instead I just die cut out my background with my chiffon cardstock and then the layering element here with white. And I did that to all 3 of these here. Okay, for the pine tree, I cut mine out 4 times. Let's go ahead and layer this together. First we're going to take this piece and layer it behind our window, just using a little bit of glue. The nice thing is for the window you could do any color you like. I'm kind of going a neutral color because I want my focal point to be the trees and the window. So that goes layered behind here. And then this piece goes layered right on the top. And then this is a decorative layer for up here. And again, you can go lighter or darker. Now this is the snow element for the top of the window. We're going to go ahead and layer that right over the top here. After this is done, oh, I guess I could zoom in a little bit more here. After this is done, we have the main window. And what I'm going to do is take a yellow marker. I'm going to be using my Y32, and I'm going to add a little bit of shading, and we're just going to go from the bottom kind of up. I want my window to kind of glow a little bit. You could use your ink and a blending brush for this, but I think a Copic marker is a little bit more controllable. So that's all I'm doing here. And then I'll do this, while I'm at it, I'm going to do the same thing to this piece here. Now we're going to take the window pane and we're just going to layer this right over the top. The decorative element goes on the top, and then I will layer this one also. So I'm going to bring in some foam squares, and we are going to pop these up, and then I'll pop these up and place these on the side. So pretty. I just think this is gorgeous. Okay, now with the trees, what I'm going to do is bring in some white pigment ink. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in some white embossing powder, and I'm going to add some snow to the edges of all of my trees. Some of them heavy, some of them light. And then we will add some white embossing powder. I didn't even bother adding my anti-static powder because this way any of the extra flakes just look like snowfall. I'm going to melt this and I'll repeat the process with all 4 of my trees. Okay, all 4 of my trees are done, and I tried to make them look different just so they look a little bit more natural. I'm actually going to keep this out because we're going to use this for our next card. Okay, after we have this done, with this tree here, I'm going to take my scissors and we're just going to cut it in half. Like that, okay? And then with these 2 trees, I'm going to put a foam square at the very bottom. And I'm going to add a little glue at the top. We're going to layer these right over the center window here. We'll just let that glue adhere. Okay, so I can actually remove the release paper off of the Okay, I am actually going to add some foam tape behind here. Okay, and then we're going to come back to this. Now I have an A2 panel of Spellbinders Windy cardstock. I'm going to adhere this to the front of my card base. Once we have this adhered, we are going to take our 2 half pieces and I'm going to tuck them behind this panel here. Now with this piece, we're going to stamp our greeting on here. We're going to use our clear stamp of the month club kit. It's called To You and Yours. And I'm going to stamp the greeting that says, Cozy Wishes from Our Homes to Yours. And I'm just going to use an acrylic block here. I'm going to use my black ink. We're going to add our greeting on our snowbank here. Wonderful. I'm going to take this panel and then we're going to pop it up with a strip of foam tape. I just put it on the bottom here, and then this is going to go at the very bottom of my card base. Next we're going to take our last tree and I'm going to layer it right over here, right next to our greeting. I'm going to take some of, this is Hero Pearls. This is white. It's like liquid pearls. And I'm going to add, some of this to the very top of my snowbank. I'm going to kind of trail down a little bit. I'm going to go on this side also. And then I'm also going to go at the very top of my snowy window. I think that looks really pretty, but just to add it a little bit more, I'm bringing in some icicle glitter. I need to bring in some scratch paper. And I'm going to, where's my spoon? I'm going to add just a little bit of glitter, not too much, to that Hero Pearls. Then I'll just tap off the excess. And that will finish off that card. Have a little bit of sparkle. I'm using artificial light, but that's kind of a good thing today because you can really see the sparkle. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and create a shaker card with our clear stamp and die of the month club kit. For my next card, we are going to do some heat embossing. And I think I'm going to heat emboss my Christmas tree on some acetate. And if you do this, you want to make sure that your acetate is heat resistant. Judikins has a really nice one. And I'm going to treat my panel here with my anti-static powder tool. And I'm going to use a white ink. I'm actually using my Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink. This way I can see where I am going to emboss. Go ahead and stamp this. And I think once is great. Let's go ahead and lift this up. I put some cardstock under there so it's easy to lift up. And then I'm going to go over this with some white embossing powder. Now I'm going to let my heat gun heat up really good, and then I will melt this. Give that a second to cool down. And you'll notice when I stamped my tree, I stamped it a little bit towards the left. I did that because we're going to make a panel that's 3 3/4 inches wide. So I'm actually going to trim a 1/2 inch off of this. So let's bring in our paper trimmer. And we will trim this to 3 3/4. Actually a little less. Now I'm doing this because we are going to make a shaker card. I'm just going to wipe away any excess. Wonderful. Okay, let's bring in another panel. Now I'm bringing in a panel of Spellbinders. This is chiffon cardstock. And what we're going to do is trim this down to 3 3/4. Minus the acetate there. And then I'm going to bring in the die that will cut this out in my Stampin' Cutting set. This Christmas tree die here. And I'm going to cut out a window in this panel. Now my tree's cut out. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to add some adhesive behind here. And then I'm going to line up this troops. Now I'm going to line up this tree over my heat embossed tree. After this is adhered, the same way that we did the window on here, I like the kind of glowing look. What I'm going to do is bring in some yellow ink, okay? And using my blending brush, we're going to add a gradient from the bottom to about right here. So let me bring in my craft mat. Now I'm going to go right over the acetate, but I'm not worried about it because we're going to do something on the bottom here. Okay, I think that has a nice little glow to it. I'm going to use my towel and a little bit of alcohol. Just going to spray a little bit of alcohol on here. And then I'm going to wipe off that ink from my panel here. And also from my acetate. I think we're going to trim a 1/2 inch off the bottom here. I was going to go the full length of my card base, but I changed my mind. We're going to trim this down to 5 inches. We'll just take a 1/2 inch off the bottom there. Now I'm going to flip this over and we're going to add foam tape behind here. I trimmed down a piece of Spellbinders Fern cardstock that's the same size, so it'll fit right behind here. And actually, I am just going to trim a little bit off here. Okay, and then we're going to fill up our shaker using some glitter, some little snow glitter. I'm going to use the same Icicle glitter that we used for our first card, and I'm just going to fill this up. Well, I won't fill it up. We're going to add some glitter here. I'm going to kind of give it a shimmy. So now we have some sparkle in our tree. And I tried to fill in the area of the tree so it doesn't sink all the way down to the bottom. But I did want it to go down to the trunk because that's where some of our sentiment is. I'm going to add my panel right over the top. Press it down. We'll flip it around. And now our shaker has a little bit of sparkle in there. Using the same die that created the snowbank from our first card, what I'm going to do is bring in some white cardstock and trim out a snowbank with it. After we have this done, I'm going to take an A2 panel of Spellbinders Windy cardstock, and we're going to attach this to the front of our card base. We're just using the same color combination that we used for our first card. Of course, any color combination you have would work. Now we need to doctor this up a little bit. I'm going to bring in a star punch, and I'm just going to punch out a star with some white cardstock. Okay, and then using a small foam square, let's add this to the top of our tree. We're going to replace the star that's on there just for a little extra dimension. And then I'm going to be bringing back my hero pearls. And I'm going to go over the star here. And doing almost the same thing that we did to our first card, I'm going to add some snow to the very bottom of our little snowbank here. Because you don't have to be perfect, and you can kind of move around the pearls with the top of the lid here. Okay, I'm also going to add some snowfall. We're going to add some drops in the background. Lovely. I am going to tap it a little bit. And when you tap it, look how flat they get. Wonderful. Now I'm going to bring in my scratch paper, and we're going to add a little glitter to this. Now we have a little sparkle here. Lastly, I'm going to bring in some black and white baker's twine. And I'm going to, I think it needs just a little bit of black and white in here. I'm going to tie a bow to the top, and then we're going to stamp a greeting. And we will trim the tails here. Okay, and then I'm also going to stamp one more greeting. I think we're going to stamp a greeting across the bottom. I'm going to stamp the greeting in our Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club kit that says, "Wishing you a Christmas that feels like home." I'm just going to stamp it on white cardstock with my black ink here. Lovely. This is going to bring another layer of dimension to my card too, which is what I like. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Okay, I did pop this up with some foam tape. I'm just going to remove the release paper, and I'm going to add this to the bottom. I'm going to put this right over the 2 because I think this way it doesn't obstruct the greeting. You can kind of still get the greeting here. Just layer this here. There we go. And that will tie the black in with my black and white twine. And that will finish off that card. Something a little bit different. Now we're going to take a look at both cards that we made today with the Spellbinders Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club kit, and then also the large Die of the Month Club kit. Hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration with those clubs. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.